I know it's Vanessa smiling there. She can come on next. You're talking about harmony. You know, Vanessa has some disharmonious experiences in her life and her daughter Sav, right? You want to come on next, Vanessa?
Yeah, go on then.
Okay, you're on.
I'll press anything.
How's your sound? I think your sound is okay this time, right?
Yeah.
Very good.
Do I have to push to come on screen? Do I press anything?
No, the Zoom goes automatic to who's ever talking. So you're filling the screen. All thousands of people are watching you right now on YouTube.
Oh my God, poor people. I'm not good with technology. You might have gathered that. But yeah, I agree with what he said, what Jeff said with the Federation, and I think there's something more going on out there because I've had similar experiences that have encouraged me to believe that. And I feel it within myself that that's true. In a couple of weeks, I'm gonna go a bit more full on into my whole story thing. My life is so full, and I'm not really good at talking, so I find it really hard to organise my thoughts because it is hard to condense so much activity, and it's not just with me. It was my friends, my children.
I should mention your microphone sort of is a bit faded. Maybe hold it close to your mouth. It sort of comes in and out with volume.
That easier?
Yeah, it's a much bigger improvement. Yeah.
Okay, I'll stick it here.
Well, it's not a good fashion statement, but I guess you have to do it for the sound.
Well, as long as you can hear me.
Yeah.
But, there's nobody that comes into my realm that isn't touched by this. So, I found that the hardest thing for me living in my life with all of this phenomena is it's not meant to be real. And yet to me, it was in my face. They made it so that you couldn't disbelieve it because I had witnesses, I had family experiencing it with me, and yet mainstream society turns around and, you're shunned for like Jeff said, you can't tell people because it's not part of what we're all led to believe, but it is real. And I have got photographic proof, video proof, I've got witnesses, and, it's really part of this journey that has led me to meet lovely people like you, be able to, I've met quite a few. When I moved here to East Anglia, I met a lot of people that were of the like mind, and I learned a lot actually about myself and my experiences. Have you heard of Brenda Butler? You know of the Rendlesham Forest incident?
Yeah, I think a lot of us heard of Rendlesham Forest, December 26, 1980.
That's the one with Charles Hall?
Yeah.
That's up the road here. And the people I met, some friends of the kids when I moved here, said, oh, why don't you come to a circle and then you could learn if you're receiving messages? Because I didn't understand a lot of the stuff that I was getting over the years. And I was like, well, I'm not getting messages though. And they're like, well, maybe you are and you'd not realised and interpreted it. So I went to the circle, and that's where I met Brenda Butler. And she's a good friend of mine now, but she was the one that did the first investigation of the military base of the UFO landing at Rendlesham. But I didn't know about Rendlesham at that time when I moved up here. So it's really crazy. I've got to know quite a few people involved with Rendlesham and other UFO events in East Anglia. So I have grown from, it's like I've been put into places to meet certain people, to learn more about the subject. Opens my mind up more, and then I crave information to understand why me, why my family, what's going on. So I bought all the Chronicles by Zachariah Sitchin. I've bought the Book of Enoch. I've bought, all books along that line to try and look at certain subjects, not the way we were taught them at school, but from a different perspective, and they make sense through looking at it from a different perspective. And I've grown from that with my encounters and that. Yes, I've had a lot of bad, but I've also had a lot of good. And I have, in my heart, I feel like I have a good relationship with them. Every time I go outside in the evening, I can't help but look up at the stars. 9 times out of 10, something lights up to me, they'll flash, they'll really power up. Like the Yeseti Ranch, when they get the big power up UFOs there, James Gilliland, that's it. I get the same, and I get it here, but I've always had that, and you feel so special. It's such a gift that they kind of communicate with light. I've always said it's like they're saying hi to me, but then on another level, there's other things because I'm receptive to that. You get other dimensionals coming through, and I have seen a gnome close range in my bedroom when I was 9. They exist. And I couldn't tell anybody because nobody would believe that. There's so many ranges, and in, what was it? When did I have chemo? 2014 or 15? No, I had some more in 2015. Around the time I was having chemo, about 2015, I wrote a lot of my experiences down, listed an ebook on Amazon called Realms of Reality. I didn't have anybody to really talk to about it. I thought I need to share some information because if something happens to me, then, this all goes with me. I think it's a shame, to have all that go and not be able to tell anybody what I've experienced for myself and with my children. I didn't want that to be lost. So I released the book on Amazon. But my story isn't only with me, it's with Reese, my oldest son, Jerome, my middle son, and Savannah, my youngest daughter. It's touched all 3 of them in different ways. And at times when I've not been around, they've had their own stories happen and they've been with their own friends. It's so extensive. I mean, I even found it hard. How do you protect your children from something that can come into your reality for a minute and go out again? You can't predict. You could feel that something's coming. I used to sleep in the bedroom and have the kids all on my bed. Even as they were older, we'd hide up, all of us, and all hide together. And you could hear the noises in the house. The kids had, I got in trouble for the kids going to school late or missing days. And I couldn't tell the teachers the reason because they'd locked me up. But the reason was we had so much activity in the house. We were up all night trying to keep safe. It's a hard one. Like my oldest son, he's sleeping in his room with the light on because reptilians were coming to him. He described them to me like red skin, horns going around his head, between 7 and 9 foot tall, kind of a scaly, leathery skin. And I said to Reese, how are you dealing with this? Sleep with the light on. He went, Mum, don't understand. Sleep with the light on, it doesn't matter. They still come. So I said, well, we do. I said, well, I know the good ones from the bad ones. Let's put it that way. I said to him, how do you know? How can you know? Facing the wall, asleep, and I get a feeling and I wake up and I turn over and it's standing there staring at me. And he said, for the longest time, he's studying this being as it's standing there. He's not afraid of the being and he will pass out again. Another time, he could roll over. There's a being standing there, but the being will shoot off really quick. And he said, Mum, they're the ones I don't trust. They're up to something. And they're the ones he's got a bad vibe with. But they were like a darker green skin with a tail and red eyes. The bad ones were like a royal red reptilian, he said, with the horns that go around. It wouldn't just come to him in his bedroom. These were following him through the woods, and because he'd go and visit a friend nearby. He had to cut through the woods to get to the boy's house. He's been with that boy when these things have come out in the woods. His friends have seen it. My other son, Jerome, he's had 3 foot tall, saucer-eyed beings that have stepped out in front of him. I witnessed one of those moments where we was in the home and Jerome was with his friend Daniel and they went to go into the garden. The rest of us were sat in the lounge eating. The boys stopped in the doorway. Jerome had gone outside and stopped. He pushed Daniel to the floor and literally climbed over him to get back into the house. So I'm like, oh my God, what's the matter? What's going on? And he broke out in sweat, immediate shock to him, what's going on? And he said in the next garden, there was a purple ball of light over our friend Laurie, who lives next door, her neighbour. The purple ball of light in her garden. It then shot down into our garden, towards the end of the garden, which is about 25 foot from the door. Then right there, he then saw the being standing there, panicked, and he pushed Daniel to the floor. But I witnessed his reaction to him seeing something. What he didn't know, hour before that happened, I'd been in the back car park talking to another friend, and I saw two UFO that were like star-like balls of light. They came together, super lit up bright, and then separated again and went in different directions. He didn't know that I'd witnessed that prior to it. So that kind of made a connection. Jerome didn't stay at home that night either. He went and stayed at his friend's. So I don't blame him. And like I say, Savannah gets the alien greys. She gets 3 greys. But it is so intense. And there's so many that I could say. I'm going to have to bullet point them because it's like, where do I start or where do I end with this? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, we're all experiencing stuff that is real, that people in society are just waking up to it now, really becoming a big thing. And I'm really happy about that. It's only through the internet and us being able to do things like this that we can about experiences. And it's like a therapy to be able to talk. So isolating, store it all up. And there's people you still can't talk to about it now, but it's nice to be able to have other people go, yeah, I get that, stand that. Okay, but there's people around me. Everybody leaves the house. If it goes dark, I'm like, oh, I can feel them drawing towards me. And I have had I've had psychic abilities. I've had travel, and I've not had control of it, but I've done it. So I have these other things. When I was super young, I think I was about 4 or 5. I had an out of body experience. I had no control of that. I'm aware in the air over the top of my nan when she was coming in to wake me up. My body went into reverse, and I reversed back into the bed, back into my body. Control of that. So a lot of things happened to me physically. I mean, it's mind blowing. You know what I mean? It's really nice to have conversations, like I say, with everybody on here and share those things. Therapeutic. Well, thank you for letting me be a part of this, because I know I'm not in Vancouver.
Well, I think you're an important experiencer because of the reptilian relationship with your family. Like Jeff said, the gray relationship seems to be grays have a nicer relationship with humanity than reptilians. So you're actually a very special person to have in our Vancouver UFO meetup, I think.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. That really means a lot.
What do you think, Jeff?
Oh yeah, I know. It's any experiencer is valuable, and not to for people who aren't experiencers, that doesn't mean you're not valuable. For me, Vanessa, you said so many things that just they're right on board with myself. You said you step outside and you see that you're like, why am I seeing something, and why is it related to me? Why am I having some crazy craft in the sky interacting with me? What's that about?
Wave at them.
Yeah. And I have sometimes I have telepathic. I know I had it 2 days ago. Again, it's nonstop, and it's why is this happening to me? Why is this species putting their energy into me in this weird way? And I
talk in my head, and they react to it.
Yeah, I've had the same. It's nonstop, and in that way, you have something to offer, and that has value. I can't express talk more about it. Get it? And of course, the public can't handle some of these things in your personal area, your personal sphere of people can't handle it, but we can. And I'm looking forward to you and kind of telling your story, Vanessa. I think it's great. And just some things I want to say. I don't know. I think as I get into more of this field, I'm a little bit shocked at how different everybody's experiences are. How strangely different everybody's experiences are. And what that says to me is the role of consciousness, the role of our individual consciousness in this experience for us and for the individual involved. And I'm seeing so much interpretation, and so so many people's versions are so wildly different. And the only thing I want to say is I don't know how helpful it can be to say this, Vanessa. I'm happy you have the kind of positive experiences, and those are there. And then there are some kind of negative experiences. And I guess I don't really like to hear that people are having negative experiences. I actually have had negative experiences with the Greys, but it was overarching positive. It was meant to be positive, with it being challenging to interpret that as positive. And then eventually I grew into it and understood why it was positive. So that can sometimes be negative, but when people are having dark experiences with beings, I find that really kind of hard to hear morally, because I find that, I don't want people to be having those experiences. And my thought is I don't know what this does for you to say this, but to I do believe that we are all beings of the Godhead. We are all kind of the one of the unified field.
Agreed.
And and we are no being is more powerful than us. All beings exercise those abilities and we don't. But we have that power as well. And we are equally of power than any other being. We don't no being has powers over us unless we allow them to do that. And so there are people who I actually commended, we had a Christian on here a couple weeks ago, and I commended him for, he found he was able to move that alien experience away from him, though dark and negative stuff he thought was dark and negative, away from him by believing in Jesus Christ. And, I commended him for it because for him, that's his God power. And and we need to kind of get there sometimes when we're having these negative experiences to realize I have power here. And he did that through Jesus, and that's perfect. And somehow, however people do that, whether it's Krishna, the Buddha, Jesus, or Muhammad, I think we all have that kind of power. And so, I hope maybe to think about that. I don't know if that's for you or your son, because I think that's really just scary when people are having bad experiences. But but I relate to so much of what you're talking about, and I really just look forward to you kind of sharing more. And please, I know this is it was therapy for me. I know it's therapy for you. So please talk more.
I mean, thank you. And a lot of the negative experiences were negative because I didn't understand it at the time.
Right.
As time's gone on and I've gained more knowledge and I've actually gained understanding of, like you say, my own power. And I mean, I say Lord's Prayer every night when I go to bed. I have previously I've tried the Buddhist practice and that for a friend of mine and that. So I went through different channels and it was all still trying to find answers to everything, what's going on, even the form of protection for myself. But, the power lies within me.
Right.
But I had to get to that point first. But it was been a journey of emotions and not having the answers. I didn't have the internet back in the day, so I had no one to even talk to. And you question yourself, you're like, is this for real? Am I going mad? And then when people keep coming back at you, oh, just see this, or something's just touched me, or like when my fella was pinned down when I took the kids to school, I come back and I'm like, oh my God, this is real, and this isn't just happening to me, it's happening to family around me. I'm like, no, something's going on. So it's nice to be able to talk to other people and let them know that that this has been a complete journey, but I feel like I've come out the other side, but it's still ongoing. I feel like I get checked up on and I'm monitored, and that's a fact.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
And it's great when you say you go out and you see the same. That's excellent, because we're we both wouldn't look crazy going outside together, looking up and connecting and things like that. I mean, this is real, but I find it special. I feel like, wow, it's amazing. I've got a connection. I say I've got friends in high places. That's one of my little jokes.
Literally very high.
Because I have.
Sky high. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Vanessa. Yeah. So who else? Zachary's got his mic off. Do you want to go next, Zach? Here he comes.
Sure. I don't really have a ton of stuff to talk about. I tend to be a bit better of a listener than a talker, but I do feel that I have had some experiences. I don't have direct memory. I've sort of thought about trying to do some hypnosis to try and see if I can recover memories, but I have had a lot of my experiences have been kind of while I was sleeping, and so they sort of come through in stuff that I've dreamt about, but in a way that I can tell that it's not just like a normal dream. And so there have been a couple of times where I've sort of experienced being abducted, but don't have any real memories of what happens after sort of being lifted off of the ground. And I've also felt like I have, just kind of separate from any potential sort of alien situation, I feel like I've been the target of one or more entities that I would, at least one of them would classify kind of as a like a succubus that sort of attacks while sleeping, and is kind of related to sleep paralysis and that sort of thing. So I'm sort of just kind of happy to sort of have a group like this to be able to join. And as I said, I enjoy listening to other people's experiences. And at some point, I want to do a bit more of exploration of my own experiences. But hopefully, once sort of everything's settled down with COVID and that sort of thing, I potentially find like a hypnotherapist and sort of explore some of that. But until then, I'm mostly just kind of happy to be here and be among like-minded people and hear about what other people are going through as well. And that's really all about it for me.
Well, thanks. You had really the best attendance at our UFO meetups. We met at the Britannia Library here in Vancouver starting about a year ago. You came to a lot of these meetings. I didn't know until now that you're an actual abductee experiencer. So this is cool. I thought you were just really interested in this stuff. So do you think your memories were suppressed of the abduction experience? Yeah,
like I feel like it's a possibility. Like I don't generally, I don't know definitively that I'm an experiencer. I guess just because I don't have those concrete memories, I have the feelings of sort of what it felt like to be taken without anything concrete enough to say, yes, this is definitely sort of happening to me. It's just something that I feel to be the case. So yeah, I'm hoping to kind of get a little bit more insight to that as time goes on.
I guess you've studied the phenomenon over the years. Like, you know that most abductees have their memories suppressed and they don't know they're abductees. You probably studied it, right?
Yeah, I've definitely sort of read quite a bit and I've watched quite a few. And that's part of why I wanted to, or is part of why I feel that way. But I also don't want to be too overeager to claim things that I don't know for sure to be true until I have a little bit better of an idea of my experiences and kind of what they might mean for me.
Well, thank you, Zach. Very good. So it's good to talk about these things. Like Jeff says, it's good therapy. So I've never had an abduction experience. I don't need the therapy, but it seems to be good therapy, right?
Sure.
Well, thank you, Zach. So who else? Anybody want to speak up? Barry, you coughed. You want to go next?
I wrote a poem. I'm just getting emails off to the ladies. I wrote a poem when Jeff was talking, or after he was talking. You inspire me, Jeff. I don't know how much of a poem it is, but since we're all talking, and I hope to have something to contribute other than just listening all the time, like Brian and others. I'm not an experiencer, but I have a big mouth, and I think like everybody else. So when all these new questions seem to be too much for me, I need a witness, someone who's been there, who like me will likely see things that often astound us, that stop us in our tracks. It's most often that simple struggle that keeps me coming back. Ta-da!
Awesome.
But I was
put it up on the meetup. Put it up on the meetup.
Yeah, I know. I plan to. I know.
Yeah, that's good. That's
okay.
Great. It's the experiencer poem. Yeah, that's great, Barry. That's
a
fantastic.
Non-experiencer poem. Not. It's about experiences.
It's about experiences. Yeah,
but
it's how we feel. Yeah, it's how we feel.
It's still worthy. That empathy that I feel for you.
Yeah.
While I'm feeling it, you'll feel mine.
Yeah.
Right. And it doesn't matter if we don't share those experiences. Just the intent that I might have towards your intent is important as well. And I'm sure this is a convoluted way of saying it, Vanessa, but I'm sure you can understand, right? You know, what I wish upon you, you wish upon me. And that's just humans getting together and appreciating each other, I think. So that's all I got to say. I'm a nobody.
You're very wise, Barry. I really love you being in all these meetings, and you've got wisdom, and you always you provided great energy. Actually, I have to say, I really like you being in all our meetings, and especially for something like this, it's fantastic. So,
level the playing course, because when you're out there reaching for what you have to say, you have to know there's somebody back here listening, and when you turn back to see us, that's most important. When we can say yes. Even though I'm not there and haven't been, Jeff, I believe what you say. That's so important for both you and me, for me to participate in it, because I don't feel included most often. I would just, when Desta, remember Mitzi, you'd know Desta. Remember, Brian, when Desta was doing her videos, and I so thought she had bang on. That was just after you, Jeff, and me. I was getting into things as far as experiencers go, and I thought she was right bang on about her stuff. So yeah, follow the leader. That's all I'm doing.
Awesome.
And you're being the best leader you can be. Cool.
Awesome.
Right on. Yeah, that's me. I don't mean to interrupt.
No, this is your turn. This is your talking stick.
I know.
Barry.
It's good enough.
You only had
I don't
4.5
really have
minutes, you know.
Yeah, I will try to be 5 minutes or so. I don't really have an awful lot to say. I did want to do the poem thing. The Jeff, Susie Hansen dolphin twin. I wanted to ask about that. I'm always going past these and writing things down, and then I go to my notes later on. I have no idea what the hell I'm talking about or what the hell I'm reading. Can you mention that again?
Sure. It's one of the, like you, Vanessa, just piles of experiences, and you haven't, and you, here's my actual advice is find one and then talk about it, and then another, and then people eventually listen and they get really interested. Cause this is just another of the crazy experiences that I had. So this one happened. So my memories came out in July of 2019, and this was just months before that. So it might have happened in March, and I was breaking. I am not a depressed person, and I was getting depressed, and I was getting despondent, and having 30 contact events sitting in the background of your life that are trying to get out, and you're seeing UFOs, and you're having paranormal events, and you don't know why all this stuff is occurring to your life. And of course, I was not an alien and UFO guy. I didn't have any of the stuff in my awareness, and I didn't know how to solve this feeling that was in me for years. And I was despondent. And when I was on my couch, and I was having negative thoughts about what to do with myself. And when I did that, so also like you, Vanessa, too, I'm sensitive to, and Mitzi, I'm sensitive to beings, I guess spirits. I've several people who have passed on. I've been able to communicate with them right afterwards, and heal things, and have communications, and I proved to myself that those were real events that I had with those people. So I'm sensitive to beings in my space, and I was despondent, and in this weird space, I actually started to feel that something had come in, something, a being, a space, a presence had come in, and I was actually calling out, "Who's there? Who's there?" And then I heard, like, kind of talk in your mind. I heard someone say, "Talk in your mind." So I stopped talking, and I said, so telepathically, to whatever was in the space, I said, who are you? And then so I have a guru, I have a spiritual teacher, and it pretended to be my spiritual teacher. So it gave me an image, and it was a really weird trick, because it would be like, see, Barry, let's say you came in a spirit form, you wouldn't show me a picture of you, like an icon, like a picture of you. It would be the image or impression of you. And this was a picture. It was like a picture of my teacher. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. And the picture was an old picture that was like 20 years ago. It was a strange thing that this energy did. And so I said, "Guruji, if this is you, please let me know the next time I see you in your body." Now, my guru has done weird things. My guru's a powerful being, and he's done things that are of the scale and level of the great aliens. So I wasn't doubting that it could have been him. And but I also didn't believe it was him, because that was a weird thing. So I said, "What are you?" And it said, "Your dolphin twin." And I was like, that's really weird. And then it said, "I'm here for you. Anytime you want, like, call me, and I'll be here, and I'll come, and you can talk to me." And then it showed itself to me. And then there was this gaseous image, a 4-foot tall thing standing in my living room, and it was like gas, like a blurry, clear, gaseous thing. And I was like, I'm talking to something. It wasn't like that in the moment, but I was like, oh wow. And then then there was the feel of it, kind of like it left, and I could feel I was in contact with that thing. I could bring it back in if I wanted to. And then I tried it once again and it worked. And so I've been able to, well, that was that. And then I started, I started having kind of like, kind of a telepathy experience around the UFOs that I was seeing in my house. And I made the connection eventually that thing that came in my house that day that called me its dolphin twin was connected to the things I was seeing in the sky and was connected to the telepathy that I was experiencing. And when I made that connection, I was getting terrified because I started to realize I might have been abducted by aliens. And I had my mind was not prepared for this stuff. When I did come to terms that I had abduction with and July 1st was the day I actually said this actually happened. I went to a location where one of the events happened and I confirmed that something had happened in that spot. You got it 20 years ago. You got it. You're right. Yeah. And so I confirmed that event occurred. And when it did, I seeked out right away abduction researcher, and I didn't know who to call because, as you now know, my story is well explained. My experience is bizarre and spiritual, and I thought people would not believe me, so I really didn't know who to go to. And I think I put in like spiritual abduction or spiritual aliens abduction or something, and then a communicator link. Susie Hansen's website came up, and then her book was Dual Soul, and then I was like, Dual Soul, dolphin twin. What the hell? And then I got really, really fired up and curious. And I sent an email, and it was a weird email and didn't get a response. But that was it. It kind of like went from there. And then I eventually, several months later, I bought the book. I wasn't wanting to buy the book. And then I bought the book, my first alien book in over 20 years. And then the elder is my dual soul. She is a physical dual soul. So she's linked to me and I'm linked to her. And that's the way it goes.
You know what I think of as your dual soul, what I would describe it, it's obviously not in you what you think, but you know when you say your other person that knows about these things has come again, and you're almost waiting for that to happen. And when it happens, it's a whole realization like, oh, here I'm in the other Jeff. And that's what I would think is your dual soul. But your dual soul could be who's doing all that as well. Helping Beautiful. You do all that. Yeah. Well,
yeah, it's interlinked with the sightings. That's so it's a manifestation of something physical in the world too. So it's I don't proclaim to have all the answers.
It's hard to have the answers if you don't know what the questions are. A lot of times you're like most people racing around trying to find just how you can relate your particular unusual experiences to anybody else because they're so unusual.
Yeah.
In the first place.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, you nailed it, Barry. See, that's why you're so wise. It's why you're so great to have here.
I'm stupid. I'm just asking the simplest questions that I can think of because I can't understand it. I don't friggin' understand it.
Yeah, well, for us, it's the same stupid questions then because we relate to it. So, yeah.
Hey, cool. Folks, I just wanted to let everyone know I really appreciate everyone sharing today, and I have a prior commitment, so I'm going to be leaving here in the next few seconds.
Okay.
I just wanted to thank Brian and Manny and Mitzi and Vanessa and Barry and Jeff and Julia and Rolf and Steve, the other Steve, and John's phone, whoever that is, and then Zachary too. Thank you for sharing, and hope to see you folks the next time we have one of these meetups. So I'm going to say
next Sunday, Jeff is on Sunday the 17th.
All right. Well, thank you again.
See you, Steve.
All right. Bye.
See you, Steve.
See you, buddy. We have to have somebody else other than ourselves witness who we are. I think that's very important. We are conforming beings, but more than anything, we're social beings. And unless we feel part of who we all are, then we don't feel ourselves. We don't feel complete. We need to have people in our lives. And that's what makes depression happen. When you're chased away from who you are and you don't have anybody to witness that, that's what we most often suffer from, I think. Like, I know what I'm talking about, but I really think that's part of it.
You're very grounded, so very good.
Yeah, grounding, we all need that, yeah.
It's healthy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, even though I've had all this craziness go on, I have strived my hardest. I've pushed the children to study, get all their exams, and they have them. And I said, blame anything on anything in life. If you want something, it's down to you. You go and get it. You want it, you earn it. You study, educate yourself, and you can be what you want to be. Don't rely on handouts. That's the kind of mum I am. I'm push, come on, get on with it. I still show love and compassion at the same time, you know, and there's normal things going on in life. I push for the normality because we have crazy stuff thrown in the mix as well. But like I say, we're not running around and just living our lives like, oh, you know, there's a shadow or there's a thing. These things come into our world when we're doing our most normal stuff of the day or night. So, you know, and I feel like I need to say that so that you kind of understand who is kind of like who we are and what our lives are about and what kind of people that we are.
It's good. You sound like my mom. Mom had 9 kids. There was 9 of us. And
Yeah.
I know it wasn't easy on her, but she never showed that. I mean, she just made us do what we had to do, right? And we chipped in. A lot of us didn't. A lot of us, you know, did this and that. And she always struggled with things, but she always protected us from, you know, the harm that might have happened to us. If we saw her reality, I'm sure she experienced a lot of pain, a lot of things that I never had to worry about. But I was a better person, I'm sure, for it. I didn't have to suffer. And none of us should.
No.
We should rely on each other, not as a mom, but as another person or another group of people, whoever we can find that will understand us. Yeah, good for you. Good for you, mums.
Thank you.
Hey, Brian, you've never been a mom?
No. I was a father of a stillborn in August the 4th, so August the 7th, 1994.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Thailand.
Oh, that's, I remember the time. Yeah. Yeah, okay.
So you done, Barry? Should we move on to
Yeah, please move on. I'm just going on. Sorry, guys. Go ahead.
Okay, well, John iPhone left and Julia left, so we have Rolf and another Steve. Do you want to go next, Rolf? Here he comes. You can turn on your camera, Rolf, on the bottom left where it says stop video.
Anyway.
Still a bit low. Can you lower your headspace a bit? Like it should be about 10% space above the head.
God, you're fussy today.
Well, yeah, I'm a director of my talk shows, so I mean,
but
this is my guest all the time.
This camera doesn't really have a swivel.
He's tried that before, Brian.
Well, I think that's working.
You did it, huh?
Yeah, I think you got it now.
Got it now, okay. Well, I'm a little bit overwhelmed today by all what I've heard. I can, well, maybe a few snippets I could add to it. Something a little more mundane. I'm a member of MoveOn, and yesterday I got the report that 26 UFO sightings were reported in the month of December here in Canada. But I couldn't click on it, so there is no, this came from the American UFO, not UFO, MoveOn site. When I get the information from the Canadian, then there is more information on it that one can access. Well, you were talking about elves, and something came to mind. One of my daughters from my first marriage, she saw the Easter Bunny jump over the fence. And she was quite animated and even, with her hand said, that's how he jumped over the fence. Well, of course, she didn't. Well, I can't say she didn't see that because she was quite convinced. But I know there is no Santa Claus, right, in other terms. But maybe not. Maybe she did see something, right? I don't know. And another thing, my daughter from this marriage, she was quite young. She pointed out, she says, oh, there was a little man on the windowsill. But when she tried to get closer, she thought maybe it was a toy or something. Then it just disappeared. So there are definitely strange things going on what we may want to call the spiritual world. And well, we also talked about clairvoyance or whatever. And well, it's a clairvoyance. Maybe I didn't have many car accidents in my life. Actually, less than what I can count on my hand. And none of them were serious. But the first one, yeah, after I got to San Francisco, going to the warm country from Toronto, I came in close to a street crossing, driving in the car, and I saw that I was going to have an accident, but I didn't step on the brake. And, you know, just a few seconds later, well, I did have the accident. Very strange. And it was with a very strange woman, too. I mean, she kept calling me, not saying anything, just calling. And I was new to San Francisco, so I didn't have many friends that had my phone number. So I figured it must be her. And so I just did the same thing to her. And then it stopped. I guess she realized that I knew who was calling. But yeah, she really was a strange person. About being psychic, somebody told me once that I may be psychic. But that was when I attended a talk from astrophysicist in San Francisco. And I thought, well, what better person to ask about UFOs? And I told him my story. And I told him we were about 4 or 5 standing around. And then I happened to see the UFOs, blah, 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 blah. And then he says, well, maybe you are psychic. Well, I just told him we were 5, and there was a big newspaper article later on in the paper that there was a UFO invasion. Now, why would you tell me that I'm psychic, right? I mean, maybe I could be, but not all the other people that were with me either, right? So then after that, the next day, that was Saturday, then on Sunday, he had another talk in Berkeley, which is across the bay from San Francisco. And so then he says, yes, we'll, after my talk, we have a question and answer period. But I'm not going to answer any questions about UFOs. I guess he saw me in the audience. Anyway, psychic, I don't think so that I am. But one never knows, right? I've seen many things. I've seen many UFOs. Yeah, I had aliens or ghosts in my bedroom. Yeah, it's a strange world. And I also was thinking just now while listening to you people, that there are reports that when Christians die, they meet Jesus on the other side, and the other says he Buddha, and the other says Muhammad. But what we see here is, of course, well, with Jesus, I mean, in Europe, you have a Jesus picture in every school, right? So you know what Jesus looks like, supposedly. But of course, that is not what Jesus is. And that, when I came to Canada in 1957, there was a guy that somehow, on purpose or by accident, went over the Niagara Falls. And so then they said, well, they found the body of Mr. Smith. And that kind of triggered something in me, because I realized, okay, so Mr. Smith is not really right in the body, but that's what we refer to when we see somebody physically. But that is not quite often. That is not what the person is. I mean, sometimes you can look at the person and you think, oh, he must be a butcher, or maybe he's a you know, if he's heavy set or whatever. And you get some idea from his facial expression and things like that. But maybe that's not at all what they are. But sometimes they are what what they represent physically. I don't know, this UFO thing is a really puzzling thing. Are UFOs, or are they involved in this political mess that we are seeing now? I mean, it's just amazing. I don't really know what to make of it. Is that Armageddon that we are looking at, or what? Don't know. What else do you want to know?
Whole life story. No, we can do a whole episode on you sometime, whole meeting if you want. Well, you last talk at the end of the 8 hours, you gave us some of your chronological story. You can add a bit more. You got another 10 or 15 minutes if you want.
Yeah. The latest. Yeah. Well, I have, of course, 2 implants, and one on the leg and one behind the jaw, between the ear and the back of the jaw. And it was found out through dental x-rays. And at one time I had I made a joke, because I read about that they're finding implants by these surround the head at dental x-rays. They found several implants. So after they did one, I asked the assistant, I said, well, maybe we'll see an implant. Well, of course, a dental implant and an alien implant, that are 2 different things. So she didn't really react. But then when she showed me the photograph, I pointed right to it. You know, there it was. To me, it was. Well, the dentist said, well, it's probably a broken probe or something, you know, that's stuck in. But then I had another dentist, and I by that time I already knew what I had, and I was convinced it was an implant, alien implant. I was convinced, but I had no proof. But I did print out somebody's, I forget his name, that used to operate or remove implants.
They want me to talk.
And anyway, so I gave this information to that new dentist, and he was quite eager to remove it at the time. But I had some other work done at the same time when I didn't want, you know, my mouth cut open or whatever. So then I chickened out. I also was reading up on the people that had implants removed. Some had no reaction to it. Some felt worse after that, and some felt better. And so it's still in there. He didn't, when I asked him the second time, he was no longer interested. At one time, he was interested in take a video of it while doing it and all that. So maybe I missed a chance, or maybe I'm better off leaving it in. But I don't remember ever having been in a UFO or having been abducted. But I did have, of course, the 3 gray aliens in my bedroom when I was little. But at that time, nobody knew anything about aliens, so I thought there were 3 ghosts.
That was in the early 1940s in Switzerland, which is quite impressive.
Right, yeah. I wonder what the heck you were doing. You know, I don't know. But yeah, when bells from the monastery, which is on a little island in the Rhine, when the bell rang, then they disappeared. It just floated out through the closed window. But what they were doing, or why I woke up, I didn't hear anything and I didn't see anything until they floated out through the window, which just was, you know, some daylight so I could see them. But in my room, it was dark. And of course, when I tried to turn on the light on my night table, the lamp had gone, which then after they had left, I found laying in my bed on my other side. So somebody must have grabbed the lamp, put it there, and I was totally unaware of it. So why did I wake up? I didn't hear a noise, but I had the impression that they were doing something on the bottom of my bed, on my foot end. And I've heard that from others, that there are aliens at the foot end of the bed. What they're doing there, I don't know. I guess I think some people found implants in their toe. And I think there is a video on the internet how they removed that.
No, Mimi, our organizer, she was born, or she has a tattoo on her big toe, and she was born in Uruguay. She thinks a bunch of Germans after World War II came to Uruguay, and she has a tattoo on her toe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's talking about it on video. I've done the two videos on our channel focusing just on Mimi's experience. Yeah.
Well, what does the tattoo show? Does it show anything?
Well, I don't know. We'll have to ask her
Mm.
what the symbols were. I think some
We don't
symbol
know
was
what-
on it.
Yeah. Well, talking about symbols, of course. Yeah, I actually had quite a few strange experiences. Maybe having to do with UFOs or not, but of course I'm also into crop circles. I was in the crop circle, but first they made a crop circle for me. I was visiting Stonehenge with my sister in London, and as we walked back out from the site, going back on the bus, driving to Bath, which I have an early, one of the first photographs taken by Talbot, which is on a paper negative of some building. But he was photographing in Bath, but he lived outside. So Bath is interesting. It's still a working Roman bath. That's why it's called Bath. So it's a nice site. So we went on the bus and drove there. And anyway, as we walked away from Stonehenge, I looked across the highway and I said to my sister, that would be a nice spot for a crop circle. Well, the next day, when I flew back to Vancouver, and there were newspapers and at the gangway just before you entered the airplane, there was one, and on the front page, that was the full front page with the UFO on that very spot that I told my sister would be a nice spot to have a crop circle. And that was, first of all, an unusual formation, but also unusual because it was a daytime thing that appeared, right, within just minutes, because an airplane, a small airplane was flying over the area, and 20 minutes later he flew back. He dropped somebody off somewhere, flew back the same way, and then he noticed there's a crop circle there. So it happened within 20 minutes. But it usually, right, like some crop circles. What?
That crop circle was for you. That was acknowledgement that they were connected and listening to you.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that, right? Because first, there hasn't been a crop circle near Stonehenge before that one, but there had been some since that later on and in the area. But yeah, and then I was in the crop circle near Silbury Hill, and but we really couldn't see it, and it's such a touristy place anyway because of the hill. And strangely enough, there was a guy and his mother or friend come out of the crop circle, and I got to talking to him for some strange reason. Why? He's from Switzerland, I'm from Switzerland, but living here. And anyway, so he showed me that was, he had a digital camera. He went up to Silbury Hill, and so he could see the formation. So he showed me the picture, and he was going to email it to me, and it never happened. So, but I did find it since. But when I went in there, well, you know, some people have all kinds of experiences, but I don't know. For some reason, I thought maybe it's man-made. Right? I definitely was not convinced at that stage. And so, yeah, I was in there in the center of it, actually. And it was a typical circle. and the stalks in the middle, like some, I don't know if any of you are interested in crop circles. So I've taken some stereo pictures. My license plate on my car, if you ever see it, says 3D, 3D, 3D. I love 3D. So that's my real hobby is 3D photography. Okay, I take some 3D pictures. Good. I have a compass on my watch. It's a Tissot Touch, and I try to activate it to see what the compass would do, because I remembered seeing a Japanese crew filming within a crop circle, not that one, but another one, and they had a compass, and a compass needle would just keep spinning around. Right? So I said, well, I'll see what my compass does. It has a compass function on this watch. And it jammed, like when I put the compass function on, the two hands, the long and the short hand on the watch, it just became a compass needle. Right? And it jammed. I don't know. I thought it was, I still wasn't convinced. About an hour and a half later in the bus, then I noticed, okay, the watch is working again. But what convinced me later when I got home and got the film back from the stereo camera, it is utterly impossible for any human being to make a crop circle, except, especially the one I was in, which I was doubtful about. But you see, your vision is too broad, and if you have a stereo picture, it is very confined, and you can look at it at your ease, and then you see, well, somebody would have to be on their knees and bend over the stalks, make sure it doesn't break, right? And it's a stupid idea to come up and say, oh, Doug and Dave made a crop circle. It's just not possible.
So Rolf, you don't think a bunch of college students playing a prank could do that?
The hoax. That is the hoax. But they never hoaxed a crop circle. Maybe they did. I think they did make a stupid thing with the boards and that is not.